You won't hear this from your regular doctor. But if you've stopped masturbating after age 60, your body might be silently breaking down, and you may not even realize it. Why would something so simple, so personal, affect your memory, your sleep, your heart, even your sense of self-worth? Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Bennett. I've been a urologist for over 20 years. And throughout my career, I've seen far too many older good men suffer in silence because no one ever told them the full truth. I remember one patient in particular. A retired teacher, 72, came to see me not because of his prostate or heart, but because he felt lost. He wasn't sleeping well. His energy was low. He couldn't remember things like he used to. And he had quietly given up something he thought didn't matter anymore: masturbation. No one had told him how important it still was for his hormones, his circulation, his emotional health. He thought stopping meant he was acting his age. But in truth, it was robbing him of his vitality. See, there's a quiet kind of damage that happens when you disconnect from your body after 60. And it's not just about sexual function. It's about how your body releases inflammation, how your brain resets itself, how you sleep, how you feel, how you live. And that's why I'm making this video. Because I don't want someone you care about to pay the price of silence. So if you've been wondering whether it's normal to just stop, or if you're feeling tired, foggy, or not quite yourself lately, I invite you to stay with me. Let's walk through 7 silent damages that may already be happening inside you. All because of a habit you gave up too soon. Some of these might surprise you. But by the end, I think you'll feel something you haven't felt in a while. Hope. Ready? Let's begin. Let me tell you about James. He's 70 years old, a retired mechanic. Tough hands, quiet smile. He came into my office one morning looking utterly exhausted. "Doc," he said, "I'm up 5 times a night. I haven't slept through since. I don't even remember when." His eyes were red. He looked worn down, not just from lack of sleep, but from something deeper. Now, many men at his age experience nighttime urination, but what concerned me was what he didn't say until I asked gently about his intimate life. He paused, hesitated, and then admitted, "I stopped everything a couple years ago, just didn't see the point anymore." That was the moment I knew we had to talk not just about his bladder, but his prostate. See, what most men don't realize is that the prostate isn't just sitting there doing nothing. It produces fluid. And if that fluid isn't released regularly through ejaculation, it can build up. That buildup creates stagnation, and stagnation invites inflammation. Over time, that inflammation can lead to swelling, even an enlarged prostata condition we call BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia. When the prostate swells, it presses against the urethral tube that carries urine out of the body. That's why men like James end up running to the bathroom again and again at night. Not because their bladder is weak, but because their prostate has become a dam. And here's the part no one talks about. Regular ejaculation, even just once or twice a week, can help keep things flowing. It's like cleaning out the pipes. It reduces pressure. It lowers the chance of infection. It supports circulation in the pelvic area. And yes, it may even help you avoid surgery down the road. I looked James in the eye and said, "This isn't about being young or sexual. It's about being well, about honoring what your body still needs." He nodded. And for the first time that day, I saw a glimmer of relief on his face. It's not always an easy conversation, I know. For some men, it feels awkward or shameful. But let me tell you this, your prostate doesn't care about your pride. It cares about flow, movement, release. And when we deny it that, the consequences don't wait. So if you've been struggling with frequent urination, especially at night, before you reach for another medication, ask yourself, Have I given my body what it truly needs? Sometimes, the solution isn't another pill. Sometimes, it's simply a return to what once kept you balanced. And yes, just by maintaining a steady, natural rhythm, you might avoid the scalpel. Let's keep going. Because what's happening to your prostate might also be happening to your brain. Now, while your prostate may be quietly struggling, there's another part of your body that's just as affected, and perhaps even more vital: your brain. I want to talk to you about something many men brush off as just getting older. You misplace your keys. Forget what you came into the room for. Or worse, you pause mid-sentence, trying to remember the name of your own grandson. It feels frustrating, embarrassing. But let me tell you something you might not expect. You forgetting your grandson's name? That might not be about aging. It might be about disconnection. See, every time we reach sexual climax, whether with a partner or on our own, our brain lights up like a holiday tree. It releases a cocktail of powerful neurochemicals. Dopamine, the reward hormone. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Serotonin, the mood stabilizer. And endorphins, those natural feel-good chemicals that soothe pain and boost clarity. These aren't just pleasure chemicals, they're essential for brain function. They regulate focus, memory, emotional resilience. They help us feel present in the moment and engaged with the world. Now, imagine going months or years without triggering that natural release. What happens to the brain? Neural pathways begin to dull. The fog rolls in. And over time, what we call senior moments can actually become more frequent and more frustrating. I've seen it in patients. They come to me concerned about forgetfulness, brain fog, that slowed down feeling. And yes, sometimes it's diet or sleep or medication side effects. But sometimes it's something far simpler. They've stopped giving their brain its natural reset. One patient, quiet, analytical, an engineer all his life, told me he felt like his thoughts were getting tangled. I used to be so sharp, doc. Now I just feel dull. He had given up masturbation, thinking it was unnecessary. When we talked about the neurochemistry, he was stunned. No one had ever explained that orgasm is not just about release, it's about reboot. A way for the brain to flush tension, regulate hormones, and spark new clarity. And I get it. No one wants to believe that not touching yourself could lead to mental decline. But the body and the brain are deeply connected. And when we remove a natural rhythm from our lives, we pay the price elsewhere. So if you've been feeling mentally cloudy lately, before you assume it's just your age, consider this. Maybe your brain is just craving what it used to receive naturally. A spark, a flush of life, a moment of clarity from within. Let's move on. Because this foggy mind, it can often be accompanied by something even heavier. A quiet, creeping sadness that many older men carry, but rarely talk about. That fog in the mind, it often doesn't come alone. It brings with it something heavier, quieter, and far more dangerous. Emotional numbness. A slow fading of joy, of connection, of meaning. I remember a man I once treated named Harold. He was 68, recently widowed. His wife had passed the year before, and he came to see me not because of any specific illness, but because he said, "I just don't feel anything anymore." He wasn't crying. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even sad. He was blank. That's when I knew we needed to talk about more than grief. We needed to talk about his body's chemistry and how, without realizing it, he'd let it go silent. You see, when we engage in sexual intimacy even with ourselves, our bodies produce serotonin. It's one of the most important chemicals for emotional regulation. It helps us feel calm, connected, safe. It stabilizes our mood. It reminds us that life is still worth living. But Harold, like many men his age, had stopped all forms of physical self-connection. He thought it was no longer appropriate. He told me, that part of me, it died with her. And yet, he was still alive. His body was still asking for attention, for release, for the comfort that physical pleasure can bring, not as a replacement for love, but as a way to keep the soul from going numb. When serotonin levels drop, emotions flatten. The world turns gray. And men like Harold find themselves withdrawing not because they want to, but because they can no longer feel fully. And here's what's terrifying. This kind of silent depression often goes unnoticed. There's no dramatic breakdown, no cries for help, just a quiet giving up, a slow shrinking of the self. Not feeling sad is not the same as being okay. Sometimes, the real danger is not feeling anything at all. So I say this with the deepest care. If you've been feeling empty lately, like you're just going through the motions, please don't ignore it. Reconnection isn't about sex. It's about coming home to yourself. About waking up the systems that remind you you're still here, still alive, still worthy of joy. Because when emotion disappears, so does the will to live. And no one deserves to drift quietly into that kind of darkness. Let's keep going. Because emotional numbness doesn't just affect the heart and mind. It can take something else from you, too. Your sleep. That sense of emotional emptiness often creeps its way into the night. Many of my patients don't come in saying, I feel numb. They say, I can't sleep. And when I dig deeper, I find the same root cause. Take Charles, for example. He was 74, a retired mailman, and he looked exhausted. Not just tired from the day exhausted, but soul-deep tired. He told me, Doc, it's been 2 years. I've tried everything. Melatonin, prescription pills. Nothing works. I close my eyes and just lie there, staring at the dark. We ran tests, checked his blood, adjusted his diet. Nothing made a difference. And then one day he said something almost as a joke. Maybe I just need to find a girlfriend. He laughed, but I didn't. Because hidden in that joke was something real, something biological, something profoundly overlooked. You see, after orgasm especially, one reached through self-pleasure, your body naturally releases a wave of calming hormones. Prolactin helps transition the body into rest. Endorphins soothe the nervous system, quiet the mind, ease the heart rate. This isn't mythology, it's chemistry. And it's one reason why, for many people, sleep comes easiest right after intimacy. But when men stop touching themselves, that hormonal cascade disappears. And the result? A brain that won't settle. A body that can't relax. Nights spent turning over, again and again, chasing a rest that never comes. Charles had unknowingly shut off one of his body's built-in sleep systems. He thought what he needed came in a bottle, but what he really needed was already within him. I gently explained to him that the act of self-pleasure isn't just about desire. It's about regulation, about giving the body the signal it needs to exhale. And that's something no pill can replicate. 2 weeks later, he returned to my office with a quiet smile. He said, Doc, I slept 7 hours, first time in years. He looked younger, lighter, more himself. So if you're tossing and turning night after night, if sleep feels like a stranger you can't remember how to talk to, ask yourself, have I cut off the very rhythm that once told my body, it's okay, you can rest now? Because sometimes, the solution isn't more medicine. Sometimes it's simply remembering that your body was designed to care for itself. If you let it. Let's continue. Because while sleep may be elusive, something even more physical may already be weakening without your awareness. And that's the strength of your body's foundation, your pelvic floor. While restless nights can chip away at your energy, there's another consequence of disconnection that's even more physical and far more humiliating when left unchecked. Let's talk about the muscles you can't see, but feel every day when they fail, your pelvic floor. Most men have never even heard of these muscles. They sit like a hammock at the base of your pelvis, supporting your bladder, your bowel, your prostate, everything in your lower core. They control urination, stabilize your hips and lower back, and keep you steady from the inside out. Now, here's what's important. These muscles don't just stay strong on their own. They need to be activated, repeatedly, naturally. And one of the most powerful built-in ways your body engages the pelvic floor is through orgasm. During climax, these muscles contract rhythmically. It's like a natural workout, gentle, effective, perfectly designed. That contraction increases blood flow, improves muscle tone, and stimulates the entire pelvic region. But when self-pleasure stops, so does that activation. And slowly, the muscles begin to weaken. At first, it's subtle, maybe a little back pain, a bit of hesitation in the stream of urine. But over time, it progresses. I've had patients in their late 60s and early 70s tell me they've started leaking urine when they sneeze, or struggling to hold it until they get to the bathroom. Some even experience difficulty with bowel control. These aren't just embarrassing issues, they chip away at dignity, independence, confidence. And here's what's tragic. Many of them were never told that something as simple as maintaining regular sexual activity alone or with a partner could have prevented it. One man, a retired firefighter, confided in me that he'd started wearing adult pads when he went out. He said, "Doc, I used to run into burning buildings without blinking. Now I'm afraid to laugh too hard." We worked on pelvic floor exercises, yes, but I also encouraged him to return to a practice of self-pleasure, to reclaim that rhythm, to reactivate what had gone dormant. And the results? Within weeks, his leaks reduced. His confidence rose. Not because of medication, not because of surgery, but because he said yes to his body again. So if you've been noticing little Seinsweck flow, back discomfort, trouble holding things in, know this: it's not just aging, it's deactivation. And sometimes, one small action, one quiet return to self, can be the difference between needing diapers or not. Let's keep going. Because while your muscles may be weakening, there's one more system you can't afford to ignore: your immune system. When your pelvic muscles weaken, your balance and control begin to fade. But what fades next could be even more dangerous because it happens deep within and often without warning. Let's talk about your immune system. We often think of immunity as something we boost with vitamins or protect with vaccines, and those things do help. But your immune strength is also closely tied to your nervous system, your hormones, and your emotional well-being. And one of the most overlooked contributors to a healthy immune response is pleasure. Yes, sexual pleasure, even through self-stimulation, plays a critical role in immunity. Here's why. During orgasm, your body releases powerful endorphins, natural chemicals that not only make you feel good, but actively reduce stress and inflammation. It also boosts levels of immunoglobulin A, or IgA, an antibody that plays a key role in defending your mucous membranes against viruses, bacteria, and allergens. Think of it like a protective shield lining your mouth, nose, and gut. When IgA levels are strong, your first line of defense is sharp. When they drop, you become more vulnerable to illness. 7 things as simple as a cold can hang on for weeks. I had a patient named Robert. He was 66, relatively fit, walked every morning, ate clean. But for nearly 3 months, he'd been fighting off a stubborn respiratory infection. He tried antibiotics, herbal teas, every over-the-counter remedy in the pharmacy. Nothing worked. When I asked about his stress levels, he admitted he'd been feeling isolated since retiring. No intimacy, no outlet, no joy. He said, "It's like my body gave up the day I stopped having a reason to touch it." And in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about infection. It was about disconnection. I gently encouraged him to explore reconnection. Not because it was sexy, but because it was healing. Because those quiet, private moments of release don't just feel good, they do good. They tell your body it's safe. They signal to your immune system to stay alert, balanced, and ready. They reduce cortisol, the stress hormone that suppresses immunity. A month later, Robert returned smiling, breathing clearly for the first time in weeks. He laughed and said, "Turns out, caring for myself was better than any pill." So if you've been feeling run down, like you catch every little bug and take longer to recover, ask yourself, have I been truly caring for myself not just with medicine and meals, but with connection? Because sometimes the most powerful immune booster isn't found in a bottle. It's found in the quiet, healing ritual of tuning back into your body. And yes, self-care, in the truest sense, might just be the strongest vaccine nature ever made. Let's move forward. Because while your immune system keeps you alive, your identity, your dignity, your very sense of self, that's what makes life worth living. Your immune system may keep you alive, but your sense of identity, your connection to yourself, that's what makes life worth living. And yet, as men age, something quiet and painful begins to happen. They stop recognizing the person in the mirror. Not just because of wrinkles or gray hair, but because they no longer feel like themselves. One man told me something I'll never forget. He was 69, a former Navy officer, strong, disciplined, proud. But when I asked him how he was feeling, he paused, looked down at his hands, and said, "I don't even feel like I'm living in my own body anymore." That's not just sadness. That's something called psychological dissociation, a slow, emotional detachment from your physical self. It happens when we stop engaging with our body. When we treat it like a machine we no longer maintain. When touch becomes foreign. When pleasure becomes taboo. When care is replaced with silence. And here's the truth that few dare to say. Self-pleasure isn't just about sex. It's about reclaiming presence. It's about saying to your body, "You matter. You're still here. You still belong to me." Because when men disconnect, they often lose more than sensation, they lose self-respect. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they've stopped offering themselves something fundamental, kindness. Over time, this disconnect can manifest in subtle but powerful ways. You start to slouch. You avoid mirrors. You make jokes about being past your prime, but deep down, you wonder if you've quietly disappeared. And I want to tell you now, you haven't. You are still here. You are still worthy of love, attention, dignity, and yes, of pleasure. Not as indulgence, but as a way to belong in your own skin again. I tell my patients this: touch isn't shameful. It's sacred. It's how we remind ourselves that we're human, that we deserve gentleness from others, yes, but also from ourselves. You don't have to feel lost inside your body. You don't have to carry that silent shame. And you certainly don't have to wait for someone else to give you permission to feel whole again. You are allowed to reconnect, to rediscover the warmth of your own skin, to care for yourself, not out of loneliness, but out of respect, out of compassion, out of life. Because you, my friend, deserve to touch yourself again with kindness, without shame. Now, let's take everything we've uncovered, the science, the stories, the truths, and bring it all home. Because this journey isn't just about pleasure. It's about reclaiming your health, your spirit, and your place in the world. So now you've seen it all. The silent ways your body speaks when you stop listening. The 7 hidden damages that don't show up overnight but slowly, quietly take pieces of you away. Your prostate. Your mind, your emotions, your sleep, your strength, your immunity, and perhaps most sacred of all, your connection to yourself. Let me say this as clearly as I can. Masturbation after 60 is not shameful. It's not silly. It's not something to hide or feel guilty about. It's health. It's chemistry. It's biology. And it's one of the most natural, human ways to stay grounded in your body, in your mind, and in your life. You're not too old. You're not past that stage. You're still living, still breathing, still worthy of sensation, of connection, of care. So I invite you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you touched yourself not just for release, but for recognition, for presence, for healing? Because sometimes healing isn't found in a prescription. It's found in remembering that your body is still yours, still wise, still wanting to be known. You deserve that, to be touched with kindness, to feel fully alive and not for anyone else but for you. And if this video spoke to something in you, if it made you think differently about what your body truly needs, please share it with someone you care about. Because this conversation shouldn't be a secret. And maybe, just maybe, it could help another man feel seen, feel strong, feel like himself again. Thank you for being here with me today. And until next time, take care of yourself. Not just your body, but your whole, beautiful self. I'm Dr. Sarah Bennett. I'll see you again soon.